Okay, so the first thing on the PDF is Sri Aurobindo's symbol, and this is Mother's description of his symbol. She says the descending triangle, the triangle which comes down, represents Sat, Chit, Ananda, a consciousness. The ascending triangle represents the aspiring answer from matter under the form of life, light, and love. The junction of both, the central square, square as earth element, is the perfect manifestation, having at its center the avatar of the Supreme, the lotus. So, a very simplified understanding of the symbol we've said is the opposite of what this really says. We say the ascending triangle is matter's call and the descending triangle is the answer. But Mother says it opposite here. She says the descending, it's like the descent happens first and then the ascent. The descending triangle represents Sat Chit Ananda. And the ascending triangle represents the aspiring answer from matter. So if all of you look back to how you came first to Mother and Sri Aurobindo, you'll notice that there'll always have been some experience, however small or big, something that called you and then you responded, right? Like to share with you my experience, somebody had just given me an All India magazine because of a certain context. And the first time I saw Mother's picture and some words, Radha's prayer was there. And something emanated from the picture. At that time, I couldn't understand what it was. But something came from the picture and spoke to me, and so I responded. First, there was the call, then there was the answer. Similarly, Savitri, when I didn't know anything, I didn't know this book called Savitri existed. And I was in the Nargol Center, and on the blackboard, they had written some lines from that famous passage, "At the head she stands." And I just read it and read it and read it, and I read it once, twice, third time. And it was the most unusual writing, because as I was reading it, I was just feeling something very pleasant flowing and flowing and flowing through my body. Now, normally you read anything touching, you get goose flesh. But this was different. You can't label it or understand it first. But first the Satchidanand calls and then matter responds. So that's this triangle. First there's a descent and then there's an ascent. How much we respond depends on our receptivity. For example, before my first experience with the Mother with the picture, 10 years before that, somebody had given me a book of Sri Aurobindo to read, but I didn't have receptivity at that time. So I just returned it saying, what is all this supramental and all, it's not for me. Because at that time, my matter wasn't receptive. But years later, when you read the same thing, maybe you're ready and there is some kind of response. So all of you can trace that in your life, right? That there was something which called and so you responded in a way that you don't even know why you're responding or why you're feeling like that, because with our rational mind we can't know. But all of us are here on a Saturday evening because somewhere we have responded. Om Sri Aurobindo Meera, Mother's name, open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, your love, your power. In all things may I see the divine. So you see, it's pointless beating myself to be receptive, because I can't even be receptive with personal effort. It's grace that opens me. So it's a prayer to grace that you open my mind, my heart, my life, my mind to light. There's a respectively missing. Open my mind to light, heart to love, life or the vital to power. And when I have this receptivity and openness, then in all things I'll see the divine. Because if I have resistance and ignorance, everything seems ordinary to me, no? But it's only when that ignorance drops, that inner vision opens, that I can see everything as divine. So we were just doing Thursday in our singing class. Champak Lalji's written this beautiful composition, and Champak Lalji we know he was the person, everyone knows who's Champak Lalji. Okay, so Champak Lalji was very, very close to Mother and Sri Aurobindo. In fact, he looked after Sri Aurobindo, and to my knowledge, he's the only human being, maybe I'm wrong, who received a hug from Sri Aurobindo. So in his last few days, when Sri Aurobindo knew he was passing on, he called Champak Lalji and gave him a hug. So it's probably the avatar's hug to humanity. Through Champak Lalji, he gave all of us a hug before he left. So Champak Lalji has written this very beautiful composition for the mother. He says, Sarveshwari Shwaranim Ichha Vina Sarva Brahmandma Kaip Naithai, means without her will, without the will of Mother, in this whole universe nothing happens. And he goes on to say, useless people, Vyartha Jana, Sarpar Boj Lai Thaye, they carry burdens on their head, but without her will nothing happens. What is the use of carrying the burden? Then he says, Aharnish, that is day and night, the ability to remember her, that also doesn't come to us without her will. Even to remember her day and night, we can't do it unless she wills it in us. And once that happens, he says, all I have to do is Tara Sanidhyama, in your company. I have to just spend day and night once I remember you. So he's saying that to be receptive, I have to remember, but I can't even remember you without your will. And Mother said somewhere that you can't think of me till I think of you first. The moment you're in my consciousness and I have thought of you, that's the time you think of me. So the descending triangle creates or invites the ascending triangle. So that's what this mantra is saying. Om Shri Aurobindo Meera, open my mind, my heart. Because without your will, nothing can open. I can do 1,000 techniques. I can do 1,000 pranayam, 1,000 asanas. It will do good to my mind and body temporarily till the effect of that technique lasts. But finally, that transformation can only come with your goal and your kripa. Open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, your love, your power. In all things, may I see the divine. It's a beautiful prayer to learn up and just keep repeating it, because even receptivity comes with prayer. Sometimes you have to ask for receptivity because you don't make yourself receptive. Receptivity is also a gift of grace. Now Mother's words to Mona Sarkar. This is Mother speaking. In each thing in this universe, we find that spark, divine light, which gives life to all the beings, animate or inanimate. It is this which gives the elan, the power to subsist, to create, to multiply, to recreate, to form and to develop, to blossom towards a new stage, a new light. All this process which nature tries out in this creation launches herself towards new horizons, towards the unknown progress, in order to rediscover the divine who is hidden in each atom. And men seek blindly with machines and by scientific means to find the key to this mystery that is nature. What ignorance! So later on, Mother, we'll read it. Mother says that I can't even describe to y'all how I see existence. Y'all see forms and separate things, but in my vision, I actually see the divine vibrating in each atom, surrounding each atom, and in everything. So we did this beautiful mantra this morning and yesterday in our classes. It's from the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. Naina kinchan anavritam. Naina is nothing. Kinchan is, Naina is no, not anything. Kinchan is anything. So Naina kinchana is not anything. Anavritam. Avritam is enveloped by, and anavritam is not enveloped by. So there's nothing in this universe not enveloped by this protective light. Nena kinchan anavritam. That's what Mother's saying. In every atom, this presence is there. And the next line is Nena kinchan asamvritam. Samvritam is full of, penetrated by, permeated by. So there's not an atom or molecule in the whole of existence which is not permeated by or full of this presence. So that's what she's saying, but we don't know it. We live as if everything's ordinary, but when we become receptive, a new vision opens in us where we see everything, including ourselves, fully surrounded by the divine, fully penetrated by the divine. And then we can't worry, no? If you're talking about the unknown, a fetus in a mother's womb, it's as unknown can be. It doesn't know anything. Of course, it doesn't have a mind that can think as yet, but still. And yet it's cushioned by the warm amniotic fluid. The umbilical cord is bringing it all it needs. So because it's surrounded by this womb, actually, it never worries. It's impossible for a fetus to worry. We keep worrying because we don't feel this womb. And even if it's fully there, we don't feel it. In Savitri, there's another beautiful line, unmarked, unseen, unfelt, still attacks. We don't mark it, we don't see it, we don't feel it, but still it is there and it is protecting us. And if we start feeling it, we can feel it at various levels. We can feel it as a conviction in our mind. That's feeling it at a mental level. We can feel it vitally when we start sensing, we actually feel our subtle physical. We can actually feel an energy body enveloping us. And for Mother, this was very strong. She writes about once when she was tumbling down and about to fall, she actually felt her whole subtle physical protecting her and arresting the fall. And there are people who've told me even now that very often they fall off the bike or they are meeting with accidents, but somehow they feel a cushioning around them that they don't really get hurt. And Mother says that with all those who are truly turned to me, an emanation of mine is always with them. So if that emanation is there and it's protecting us, not only from physical things, from everything, that protection is always there. She's actually said, no, with my name on your lips, you can go into the mouth of death and nobody can touch a hair on your head. And that's so true. We see so many things we've gone through and we felt something terrible would happen, but it never did, because somehow from somewhere the protection was always there, right? So So, for example, to share a story of mine, once when I was in the mountains, I used to love walking in the meadows early in the morning before anyone woke up. And just the night before, somebody had told me about mountain dogs and how they kill human beings and they find bodies, but you don't pay much attention to it. You feel it'll never happen to you. So I was merrily walking in the meadows. It was 5:30 in the morning, not a soul in sight. And suddenly I heard barking. And I saw this pack of black mountain dogs coming, running towards me. And as it is, I'm not comfortable with dogs. Obviously, a past life thing, I have a fear. I don't know what took over me. If I had run, the dogs would have definitely got me because I can't run faster than them. But something took over me. I just sat down. I closed my eyes and I just started saying, Ma, ma, ma. And they kept barking, they kept barking. I just kept saying, Ma, ma, ma. After a while, the barking stopped. And after a long time, after the barking stopped, I opened my eyes and they'd gone. So that's the kind of protection that one word can give you. Now, here there's a physical danger of dogs, but anything, financial danger, career danger, whatever, if we can just connect with that inside us, it's so true. This is a presence that surrounds us like a protective womb. And it's a womb which is inside us. It's inside every cell and molecule of our body also. So it's a beautiful mantra. Let's all do it together. And it's a beautiful mantra to chant whenever I'm feeling like that. First, just say it. Nena kinchana anavritam. Nena kinchana asamvritam. Nena kinchana anavritam. Nena kinchana asamvritam. So just hear it once, then we'll chant it together. Nena kinchana navritam. Nena kinchana samvritam. All of us. Nena kinchana navritam. Nena kinchana samvritam. Nena kinchana navritam. Nena kinchana samvritam. Nena kinchana navritam. Nena kinchana samvritam. And just knowing that this womb, this Adi Shakti, this mother completely envelops me and permeates me. Whatever I call me, she's there in it, and her presence makes whatever I call me forever safe and protected. So let's continue with the reading. I'll read the first paragraph again. In each thing in this universe, we find that spark, divine light, which gives life to all the beings, animate or inanimate. It is this which gives the elan, the power to subsist, to create, to multiply, to recreate, to form, to develop, to blossom towards a new stage, a new light. All this process which nature tries out in this creation launches herself towards new horizons, towards the unknown progress in order to rediscover the divine who is hidden in each atom. Naina kinchan anavritam, naina kinchan asamritam. And men seek blindly with machines and by scientific means to find the key to this mystery that is nature. What ignorance! All these outpourings the divine has given himself in a self manifestation in all the creation of this entire universe vibrate with his presence, are animated by his light and grow in his love. It is to rediscover himself in the multitude that he has offered himself as a sacrifice or as a holocaust. So we said there's nothing not penetrated by him. So my darkest thought also has him in it. My most abysmal emotion also he's present. In my least pleasant moments in life also he's there. So why is he there? Why is he there in circumstances which are so opposite to what he is? Mother says it is to lose himself in manifestation by his diversity and to find himself again in the unity of existence. So he has become all these diverse forms, and it's his will, it's his Leela that in all these diverse forms he wants to discover himself as that beautiful phrase in Savitri, the million-bodied one. The one who exists in a million bodies. And above all, it is not a blind movement of the Lord. It is equipped, endowed with a precision of unmatched, incomparable perfection. So we'll say this is his Leela, that he's lost himself in manifestation and then he wants to find himself again. So he's become Adya. He's going through all the experiences Adya is going to go through till Adya discovers that she's not Adya only, she is the divine, she is the mother. But to go through all this, Adya will have to go through quite a roller coaster ride as all of us go through. But Mother says in this line that it's not a random roller coaster ride. At every moment of the roller coaster, that presence is like a surrounding womb, a womb which is inside, a womb which surrounds, which will protect Adya in every moment of the ride. So there's that beautiful line of Sri Aurobindo, ever in the heart of peril, perilous danger, we hear a flute go before us. Flute is Krishna. So in every moment of danger, that presence is already there like a safety net to catch us. So actually nothing is dangerous. We have to go through all this for our growth, for whatever. We can't understand why. But finally, we are always safe. And above all, it is not a blind movement of the Lord. It is equipped and endowed with a precision of unmatched, incomparable perfection. There's that line in Savitri, even through the mists of our mortal thought is confused, misty, infallible, perfect and precise are thy mysterious steps. Even through all our confusion, that light is guiding us. Above all, it is not a blind movement of the Lord. It is equipped and endowed with a precision of unmatched, incomparable perfection, not bound by human logic or its ways of understanding, and certainly not by its ways and methods. So, this roller coaster ride cannot be understood by human logic, and it's not even bound by human logic. To us, we'll feel many times we feel, I'm not really cared for by life or existence. Look at my lot, look at other people's lot. But it's not like that. Mother's saying that this working of the divine in our life, we'll never understand. It's much bigger than the human logic. But it follows the logic of the beyond, of the infinite, which is supple, plastic, and not bound by any worldly constraint. It is that, and it exists. It acts in full harmony and a full wonderful interdependence of one with the other. And man has the audacity to find it poor, incomplete, that works badly. We have all those Hindi songs, no? Dunya banane wale kya tere man mein aayi, kaisi dunya banai, something like that. So that is something we all feel sometimes. So man is saying, a mother is saying that, and man doesn't understand all this, and man has the audacity to find it poor, incomplete, something that works badly. What does he know? What do men understand? Not even 1,000th part of what happens. And with childish gesticulations, gesticulations are hand movements, they proclaim loudly all that they believe, see, think, and study with their microscopes and their machines. So, a glaring example of this is mother used to do a soup ceremony in the ashram. She had a very small group of ashramites and she would serve them soup. As she'd pour soup in each cup, she'd bless it, touch it to her lips, and then give it to them. And someone had the audacity, mother has used the right word, to ask her, Mother, isn't the soup ceremony unhygienic? So, so mother just said, do you really think so? What could she say? And after a while, of course, she stopped it because, of course, lack of receptivity. She's pouring and pouring, but we are not receiving. So the divine withdraws, but it never gives up. It tries again through another method, through another means. Once Sri Aurobindo had written in a letter relating to something that you don't know how much mother's trying 100 different ways to make it happen. If it doesn't work this way, she'll try that, 100 different ways to make it happen. Some way will work, it has to. So, and with childish gesticulations, they proclaim loudly all that they believe, see, think, and study. And with their microscopes and their machines, the discoveries and so-called mysteries they have found by their own effort, and that soon the great secrets of nature will be revealed, exposed, and brought to light, so that they can enjoy and take advantage wide open. What a folly! They have no idea of what one can see, feel, hear, and perceive behind all these phenomena of nature, and the forces which work and animate, create and impel, and govern the existence of this whole creation. People are not aware of what I see all around in the atmosphere, Mother says, which surrounds us, the air that we breathe, the sun and its rays which vivify, give and impart this energy to all things. So beautifully in yoga classes we explore Surya mantras, no? So we always talk about the sun as an emanation of divine energy, and Mother says here, to you the sun is just light, but to my vision, the sun and its rays which vivify, enliven, and give and impart this energy to all things. How the elements work, act, and influence all that exists and moves. And the why and how are no longer mysteries to be solved. For me, it is as clear as daylight. So because she is seeing the whole universe as living God, her whole vision is so different from the way we see it. When we see it with our mind, we judge. But when the one who judges drops away, when our ego thins, then everything is auspicious, everything is God. That's another mantra we've explored in our classes, no? Bhadram karne bhi. So everything is Bhadram, everything is auspicious. When this I, which is constantly judging, that fades, then everything is God, everything is auspicious. So these are lines from Savitri. For knowledge comes not to us as a guest, called into our chamber from the outer world. So these lines are telling us that knowledge doesn't come to us from outside, not as a guest, called into our chamber from the outer world. A friend and inmate of our secret self, the superconscient in us, the secret self in us. Knowledge is a friend and inmate of our secret self. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep. It's already within us, but it's hidden by our thoughts. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep, and slowly wakes beneath the blows of life. That's why we say pain is the hand of nature sculpting men to greatness. Because through pain, this knowledge that's fallen asleep inside us wakes up. We said, no, Adya has to go through many roller coaster rides to discover that she's not Adya, she is the divine. But maybe that discovery will require a waking up, and it wakes up under the blows of life. Because when things are good, we are happy to enjoy life. We feel this is good, I don't need to look deeper. It's only when pain comes that to survive life, we start questioning, we start looking, we start seeking, and that's when our journey begins. So, for knowledge comes not to us as a guest, called into our chamber from this outer world, a friend and inmate of our secret self. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep, and slowly wakes beneath the blows of life. The mighty demon, the inner voice, lies unshaped within. To evoke, to give it form is nature's task, life's task, to make it awaken, to give it form. So I'll read this again without explanation. They are very beautiful lines. For knowledge comes not to us as a guest, called into our chamber from the outer world, a friend and inmate of our secret self. It hid behind our minds and fell asleep, and slowly wakes beneath the blows of life. The mighty demon lies unshaped within. To evoke, to give it form, is nature's task. And then these are words of Sri Aurobindo. The object of life is the growth of the soul, not outward success of the hour or even of the near future. So for us, our object is always success, no? Success in career, success in relationships. But Sri Aurobindo says the real goal of life is not this outer or even near future success, success of the hour or near future. The object of life is growth of the soul, and very often you have to go through many outer failures to achieve this real success. And every failure is also foreseen above. There's that beautiful line in Savitri, our least stumblings are foreseen above. So sometimes failure serves a greater purpose than immediate success would. So we should not feel we are less or we are inadequate or life is less or life doesn't love us if we fail. It gives us exactly as much failure as is good for our eventual success, as is good for our growth. And there's that other beautiful, two beautiful lines in Savitri: his failure is not failure whom God leads. Because if God is leading him, his failure is not failure. And there's another line. Um, Man's splendid failures sum to victory, SUM. So failures are called splendid because they have a purpose to serve. So the line says, man's splendid failures sum to victory. Every failure adds up to a final victory, which is growth of the soul. So we all know that Vincent van Gogh didn't sell a single painting in his life, no? Or he became such a great painter after he died. Now, would we say his life is a failure? We don't. He had a very painful life. If you read his biography, Lust for Life, very painful life, always rejected, always whatever. But his paintings are so beautiful that years and years later they bring joy to eyes that see them. So, how much he must be growing inside through all the hardships of his life to produce work like that. Can we say his life was a failure? We can't. But if you had looked at it while he was living, you'd have called him a failure. But in hindsight, you know that his life was anything but a failure. Not that we want life like that. That was his life. It's not that to grow we have to keep failing. In fact, when we are with the mother, she gives us circumstances where we flower in success. But if she gives us moments of failure, we shouldn't get dejected. We should just wait and be patient because man's splendid failure, some is victory. Want to say something? The object of life is the growth of the soul, not outward success of the hour or even of the near future. So, if I've done anything or anything, it could be a work project, it could even be going to a party. If I go to a party, the way I'm conditioned, my success is about, did I look good? Did I impress people? Did people think well of me? Was I attractive? All that. Or if it's a job, did I do well? Will it be appreciated? Will people praise me? That's my parameter of success. But mother says that's a very false parameter. When you go through anything, ask yourself, how did I change while going through it? That's the real parameter. How did I grow through going through to this party? How will I grow when I go to a party or meet friends? If my normal pattern is I want attention, I want to be in the limelight, or I want to look good in people's eyes, to what extent did I change that? When that old thought pattern came up, how much of it did I offer to mother? So that instead of all the time seeing how beautiful I am in other people's eyes, I start noticing beauty around me. Am I really looking at people or am I only looking at how I look in their eyes? That's such a sad, incomplete way of living, right? One of my friends said it so beautifully that we all dress up a lot, but when we go out, our own eyes can't see us. We have to see the beauty outside. We don't see ourselves. So, what's the point of investing so much in our appearance? Finally, we don't enjoy our own beauty. We enjoy the beauty of people around. But if I've gone out self obsessed, only thinking, am I looking good? Let me go to the uh, restroom and touch myself up. I'm not looking good, blah, blah, especially when you're younger, then I won't enjoy it. You should look good because just the way other people's beauty is a gift to your eyes, your beauty is a gift to their eyes. But then forget about it. Don't all the time keep obsessing about how do I look, how am I received. Rather, learn to look at others then constantly looking at how you are being looked at. So did you grow like that? When you went out with friends, when you went for a party, did you change that old conditioning of your mind? Then that's a successful party, that's a successful going out. Or when you worked, yeah, I mean, we do want praise, we do want appreciation, but okay, fine, my ego wants that, I'm not going to deny it. But also, how did I grow while doing the work? Did I do it in such a nervous frenzy that I went to pieces and I put so much toxicity into my system? Did I do it with so much fear of failure? How did I go through the process? It's not what I did. What is the consciousness with which I did it? Did I do it remembering mother, offering the work to her? So very often we are told that offer all you do to her, do it for the mother. But if I'm very honest, most of the time I'm not doing it for the mother, I'm doing it for my ego. But is there a prayer that, Mother, yes, I know I'm doing it for my ego, but change it. I want to start doing it for you. I don't know how to, but you teach me how to. So have I brought in these little flavors that change the way I work? Then that is the real parameter of success, not, Varun, if you can come in from that gate, not just the outcome that's visible. The real outcomes are the invisible outcomes, and that's what we should be investing into. So the object of life is the growth of the soul, not outward success of the hour or even of the near future. Then Sri Aurobindo says, let not thy virtues be such as men praise or reward, but such as make for thy perfection, and God in thy nature demands of thee. This is the whole thing. I invest into having virtues which men will praise or reward. You talk so well, you look so good, you do your work so well. We want virtues like that. But Sri Aurobindo says, let not thy virtues be such as men praise or reward, but as make for thy perfection, for thy inner perfection, and God in thy nature demands of thee. Not how you look to others, but what makes for your perfection and the God in your nature demands of you. Let your virtues be like that. So both these are very beautiful lines, especially when we are younger and opinions of others matter a lot to us. You should put it up on your board or somewhere. The object of life is growth of the soul, not outward success of the hour or even of the near future. That's one. Two, let not thy virtues be such as men praise or reward, but such as make for thy perfection, and God in thy nature demands of thee. It's a beautiful, almost pole star for integral yoga. Yes?
The first line, the object of that is the growth of us, so we have to grow as people. That is more important.
That is more important. You have to enhance the being that lives in the skin. That is more important than just outer success.
Just a counter question.
Hmm?
When you say that the soul is developing, there's a portion of the soul which is perfection.
Yeah, so the soul has two aspects, right?
Chaitya Purush and
Yeah, the psychic being or the Chaitya Purush and the Jivatma. Jivatma never changes. Psychic being is the portion of the soul in evolution. It grows through various life
so when you say
experiences.
growth means it receives experience, and like that growth, I'm not
Yeah, it's a good question.
clarity-wise,
Huh.
what do you mean by growth of that?
It becomes more and more capable of using the instruments of mind, body, and life.
So it's like God being able to use these instruments.
Yes, yes. Uh, as the instruments get more receptive and malleable, as they become more receptive to the psychic light, the psychic grows more powerful. Otherwise, the psychic is there, but it's so far behind our mind and our psychological makeup that we are not conscious of it. We can't hear it, we can't feel it, it's there, but it's not able to influence us. As it grows, that influence becomes more and more palpable and concrete, and to that extent, our life becomes more and more beautiful. Outward circumstances can become more challenging sometimes, not necessarily. But inwardly, we become more and more resilient, more and more capable of being happy no matter what happens outside. Now, this beautiful quality, receptivity. So, when we do all this, when we start living our life with different parameters of success, that's what makes us receptive. If we are constantly chasing our conditioned ideas of success, we block off our opening to light. But the more we go towards that in us which is unconditioned, like the psychic in us is the only thing that's not conditioned at all. It's the source. Our mind, our emotions, they are all conditioned. But the psychic in us is unconditioned. It is what it is. So the more we go towards that in us which is unconditioned and so true, the more receptive we become. The more we break our conditioned patterns, the more receptive we are to the truth. Receptivity, the power to receive the divine force and to feel its presence and the presence of the mother in it and allow it to work, guiding one's sight, will and action. Such a beautiful definition of receptivity. The power to receive the divine force and to feel its presence and the presence of the mother in it. So divine force can be impersonal. But the mother says, or I don't know if it was Sri Aurobindo or the mother, who say that to be receptive, don't just open to an impersonal force, open to the mother's force, then you'll be protected. Because mother is impersonal also, but she is personal also. So if you open to her as a mothering force, it will be a mother to you. It will never be too much, it will never be too little. But if you open to an impersonal force, that force acts differently. This is important in integral yoga. Even those not turned to the mother can open to the force because our basic makeup is the same. But if it's an impersonal force, then it has its own workings. It doesn't nurture and protect and love as much as if we open to it as the mother's force. Yeah? So, receptivity is the power to receive the divine force and to feel its presence and the presence of the mother in it and allow it to work, guiding one's sight and will and action. This opening is a throwing wide of all the nature on all its levels and in all its parts to receive into itself without limits the greater divine consciousness which is there already above and behind and englobing this mortal half-conscious existence. I'll repeat, this opening is a throwing wide of all the nature on all its levels. So the more you widen, the more receptive you are. And Mother gives us various ways of widening. One way is, she says, and somebody I know used this as his main meditation right till the end of his days. He said that I would just see myself spreading to the distant horizons, maybe as a mental idea first, and then just staying vast. Another way mother says is whenever anything troubles you, you overthink it. She said this, I said this, I'll be judged. She says, widen your consciousness. Ask, tell yourself that you're the divine, you're eternal. You have never not been, you will never not be. And in this eternity of time, how important is this one moment where this one has said this or you're feeling that? She says, see it in the perspective of the eternity that you are. Don't shrink yourself to the limited time that you're there. And when you widen like this, you'll receive her help because you're receptive. But if you close in upon yourself, I, me, myself, my life, this moment, then we shut our doors. It's like Mother said, no, I read that passage where she says, in her vision, she actually sees every molecule vibrating and pulsating with the divine. And in her vision, if it is so, it is so. But we don't see it because we are not receptive to that vision. The more receptive we make ourselves to the vision, the more real that will become to us. So then nothing bothers us. Everything really becomes nectar. We did in one class, no? The, what was it called? Madhukand of Brihadaryanka Upanishad, which talked about living with an exchange of honey all the time with existence. Now we see this in Kabirji's life, no? Kabirji was married to a girl, Loi, from another village. And it was like those days they don't see each other, and he went to get her. And when he was bringing her back to his home, she started crying. And then she started sulking and saying, you men, you never care about women. I was married to you against my will. I already have somebody I loved in my village, and now just look up to marry you. Now imagine another ordinary man. The first words his wife tells him are this, he would be devastated. But for Kabirji, everything was such an unfolding of the divine that he said, yeah, this is the divine. This lady is the divine, and I have to live in a way that I make the divine in every form happy. So he asked her that, give me the address of the person you love. I'll carry you back to him. You don't have to stay with me if you don't want to be here. And then it started raining. So he picked her up on his shoulders, and carrying her on his shoulders, he was taking her to her lover's house. And then she started crying again, and she said, please stop, put me down. So Kabir said, you women, now why are you crying? I'm taking you to your lover. So she says, I don't want to go. I'll never find a man like you who on his wedding night will carry me. I'm very fortunate to find you. I'm going to stay with you. So when we have a different kind of response than our normal, ordinary human response of reaction, something else flows. We are receptive to the light, and that light changes everyone, even the people we are interacting with. One way is to keep yelling back, fighting them, but that changes nothing. It just keeps putting poison in us. But there's also the path of the sunlit path. The other way, when we are receptive and open, and something else comes into the equation of the moment. Mother says, my love is always with you. If you do not feel it, it is because you are not capable of receiving it. It is your receptivity that is lacking and should be increased. For this, you must open yourself, and one opens oneself only if one gives oneself. Surely you are trying more or less consciously to draw the forces and the divine love towards you. The method is bad. Underline this line 10 times. It's very important. Surely you are trying more or less consciously to draw the forces and the divine love towards you. This method is bad. So if we are concentrating in the heart or overhead, we are trying to feel the descent. We are trying to pull it down. Mother says this method is bad. Give yourself without calculating and without expecting anything in return. So sometimes we are not really looking for something to come down. We are just in a state of love. We are loving the mother, and endlessly there's a downpour. We are not even wanting it, looking for it, but it pours, and it's a much richer downpour. Now, see, mother is the wish fulfilling tree. Even if I try to pull her down into me, she'll respond, but it'll be a trickle. But if I give myself to her, it won't be a trickle, it'll be a downpour. So we shouldn't try to pull the divine into us, we should give ourselves to the divine. Give yourself without calculating and without expecting anything in return. And then you will become capable of receiving. So the best way and the easiest way to be receptive is to love the divine. The moment you love her, you're receptive to her, you're opening the doors. It is not your work, the mother says, to light the fire of evolution. As I told you, I'm always lighting it. You have only to open yourself to receive it and tend it with your good will. Such a beautiful assurance. You don't have to do anything. I'm always lighting the fire. I'm doing whatever needs to be done in you. But you have to just open your doors and let me enter so that I can work in your consciousness and do what needs to be done. A sadhak asks the mother, Mother, on what does receptivity depend? It depends first of all upon sincerity, on whether one really wants to receive. So if we are really honest, how many times do we think we want to receive? If we look at our life, we want different things that we desire, isn't it? It's very rare that we, in a day, suppose you're awake, whatever, 18 hours of the day or whatever, how much of those 18 hours do you really want to receive from the mother? If you really see, very little, no? Most of the times you're caught up in, I want this, I want that, he did this, he did that. We don't really want the mother if we are really honest. Or we want her for a very short period of time, then we want all the mundane things. It's like we need to actually change the taste buds of our being. We have a taste for other things. And the whole process of yoga is to change our taste buds, metaphorically, in a sense. So, it depends first of all upon sincerity, on whether one really wants to receive. And then, yes, I believe the principal factors are sincerity and humility. So these two qualities make you receptive. Sincerity, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one definition of sincerity they gave us was to be open to no, that's purity, to open to no influence but the divine. But sincerity, I'm not saying it verbatim, but real sincerity is to be faithful to what the deepest in you wants, to not have the outer instruments going against what your deepest aspiration is. Is it clear? Adya, is it clear? So that is sincerity. When with my mind, my vital, my physical, they are all aligned to my central aspiration and nothing in them contradicts my central aspiration, then that is sincerity. Or even if I find a contradiction, I offer it to mother and I work on it. I don't let it consume me. All of us are insincere in different degrees. I don't think any of us can say we are perfectly sincere. But it's sincere to recognize a moment of insincerity when it comes and to offer it to the mother. So, what's a very simple parameter? The psychic wants the mother. The outer being wants ego affirmation, right? So whenever I am thinking, living in a way to look good in people's eyes, for my ego to be affirmed, that's a moment of lack of sincerity. So it's okay, we are all in the grips of the ego, but it's good to say that, yeah, I'm feeling happy that I looked good in, say, Isha's eyes. But did I look good in mother's eyes? That's the question. Am I living in a way that I'm going to look good in her eyes? And frankly, that's what mother says. Don't care too much about what people think of you. What matters is your relationship with me. That's important. What people think of you will go on changing. But what is your relationship with me will be your lifeline through life. So if anyone judges you critically, don't take that judgment seriously. Who you are is between you and mother. They don't know anything about you to judge you. Why should you care? So there's a beautiful line in a song, give me the peace of knowing that I'm beautiful in your eyes, not in the eyes of the world. Those are flaky eyes. They'll keep changing. Today they'll see me beautiful, tomorrow they'll see me ugly. But let me live in a way that I'm beautiful in your eyes. And mother says, no, always behave as the, Sri Aurobindo says, always behave as if the mother is looking at you, because indeed she always is. She's looking at your darkest thoughts, every emotion, but her look is such that she is never judging you. She's looking at you, she's there. Wherever you turn to her for help, she'll help you. That's the only purpose of her looking at you. So if I'm really honest with her, I can never be ashamed in front of her. In fact, I want her to see my deepest, darkest secrets, because I know that her gaze is what will heal them. Because it's a gaze which never judges, it only loves. So, first thing to be receptive is sincerity. Second thing is humility. Mother says there is nothing that it's not doses, it should be closes. Huh? There's nothing that closes you up more than vanity. When you are self-satisfied, you have that kind of vanity of not wanting to admit that you lack something, that you make mistakes, that you are incomplete, that you are imperfect, that you are. There is something in the nature, which grows stiff in this way, which does not want to admit. It is this which prevents you from receiving. Whenever you're self-satisfied, firstly, to be self-satisfied, you have to be insincere, no? Because none of us are so perfect that we can really be self-satisfied. So she says, there's a kind of vanity which won't let you admit your mistakes, won't let you admit you were wrong to somebody, no? Then you start thinking, to protect my vanity, I'll lie. I won't admit that I was wrong, you were right. Various things. So that is a vanity inside us. And she says, nothing closes us up more than this vanity. So, in fact, I was just speaking to somebody who was in the grips of that today. She found out a mistake she had made, but she didn't want to admit it to another, because how can I look wrong in their eyes? They will think they were right, I was wrong. And this is a person with whom there's a constant ego battle. I have to be right, or that person's always trying to make me wrong. I'm always trying to make that person wrong. We all have people like that in our life. And she discussed it with me that, should I just lie and not admit my mistake? They'll never find out. So, and it was really messing with her mind. And I told her that don't do that. Just come clean. Even if they judge you and they say you were wrong, you'll be right in mother's eyes, no? That's what counts. And she went and told them, and they were perfectly fine with it. And she said, I felt such a relief, I came back home. Now, if she had given in to the vanity of not being wrong, she'd have closed her door. She wouldn't have been receptive. But the moment she gave away her ego and said, yeah, I made a mistake, you were right, I was wrong, she was receptive. And that receptivity brought her home. Receptivity will always bring you home, and vanity will always take you away from yourself. So when you are self-satisfied, you have that kind of vanity of not wanting to admit that you lack something, that you make mistakes, that you are incomplete, that you are imperfect, that you are. There is something in the nature you know which grows stiff in this way, which does not want to admit. It is this which prevents you from receiving. You have, however, only to try it out and get the experience. If by an effort of will, you manage to make even a very tiny part of the being admit that, well, yes, I'm mistaken. I should not be like that. And I should not do that and should not feel that. Yes, it is a mistake. If you manage to make it, admit this. At first, as I said just now, it begins by hurting you very much. It hurts your ego to admit you made a mistake. But when you hold on firmly until this is admitted, immediately it is open. It is open, and strangely a flood of light enters. That's receptivity. The moment you drop your ego and say, yes, I'm wrong, light enters. And then you feel so glad afterwards, so happy that you ask yourself, why was I foolish enough to resist so long? So often I know people who say, I will not talk to them till the day I die. And they become tight with resistance. And when that resistance drops and they make bridges instead of walls, only they are richer for it. Nobody else is richer. By building walls, you're not blocking away people. You're blocking away light, because where is mother if not in people? You're blocking away her light when you build walls. And when you build bridges, you become receptive to her light. Mother says, true humility is humility before the divine. That is a precise, exact, living sense that one is nothing. One can do nothing, understand nothing without the divine. And even if one is exceptionally intelligent and capable, this is nothing in comparison with the divine consciousness. And this sense one must always keep, because then one always has the true attitude of receptivity, a humble receptivity that does not put personal pretensions in opposition to the divine. What a beautiful paragraph. However capable I am, it's always good to remember that my capacity is a gift from the divine. We have to just look on life and see. The greatest artist, when he grows old, his hands can't paint anymore. The greatest orator, and there are great orators like that, no? Who get paralyzed and can't speak towards the end of their life. Every gift I have is a gift from the divine. He gives it to me for a while, he'll take it away at some point. I shouldn't get arrogant about it. I should just be humble and say that I did this beautifully because you worked through me. On my own, I couldn't have done it. If I have that kind of humility, then I'm receptive to more and more light. It's arrogance and vanity that very often blocks off the flow of receptivity. True humility is humility before the divine. That is a precise, exact, living sense that one is nothing, one can do nothing, understand nothing without the divine. That even if one is exceptionally intelligent and capable, this is nothing in comparison with the divine consciousness. If I feel very intelligent, let me just think of what Sri Aurobindo has written and his intelligence. I'll get very sobered up. Or whatever, think of what they are and think of what you are. There's always more to go. Because then one always has the true attitude of receptivity, a humble receptivity that does not put personal pretensions in opposition to the divine. So there's such a beautiful passage in Savitri on humility. I don't know if I've got it right verbatim, but it goes, an innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships a formless God, the unseen light it could not claim nor own. So it's talking about the feel of the psychic. It's an innocent because it's free of judgment. Whenever you don't judge, you return to innocence. An innocent and holy ignorance, something in me that says, I don't know what God is. I don't know what anything is because I've stopped believing my mind. So it's an innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships a formless God. You drop even the form of God because you know that that form isn't the whole truth of God. Adores like one who worships a formless God, an unseen light it could not claim nor own. I can't say this God is mine. I can't claim it nor own it. I can only adore it because I don't even, it's like loving a faceless face. I love it, but I don't know what face it is. An innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships a formless God, an unseen light it could not claim nor own. In a simple purity of emptiness, her mind knelt down before the unknowable. The mind becomes humble. It acknowledges that through my faculty, I'll never know God because God is much bigger than my mind. I'll never know God through my mind. So, in a simple purity of emptiness, her mind knelt down before the unknowable. All was abolished save her naked self and the prostrate yearning of her surrendered heart. Prostrate is sleeping. So there was no thought, no emotion. All was abolished save her naked self and the prostrate yearning of her surrendered heart. Humility was too proud a state now. In that state that Savitri was in, what we human beings call humility, that also was too proud a state. She had reached that level of humility. Humility was too proud a state. Spiritual, the hope of salvation fled. No, I'm getting the words wrong here, but basically it says in that state, she asked not for spiritual greatness. The lofty burning of desire had sunk, ashamed a vanity of a separate self. To feel, if desire arose, she felt ashamed because you can desire when you feel separate, no? The lofty burning of desire had sunk, ashamed a vanity of a separate self. Herself was nothing, God alone was all. Yet God she knew not, only knew He was. She didn't know God, but she only knew He was. So that's the kind of humility that makes you completely receptive to the light. Yeah? And so let's just go over the whole passage again. Forgive me if one word goes here and there, I'm telling you from memory. An innocent and holy ignorance, adored like one who worships a formless God, the unseen light it could not claim nor own. In a simple purity of emptiness, her mind knelt down before the unknowable. The lofty burning of desire had sunk. Ashamed, a vanity of separate self, salvation she asked not, nor the heavenly crown. Herself was nothing, only God was all, yet God she knew not, only knew He was. So when the mind is humble, when it acknowledges that I'll never know the truth with my thoughts, that's real humility. When you can give up your judgments, your self-righteousness, and just be humble that everything is an infinite God intelligence which I can't judge with my thinking mind. When you become like that, you become receptive to light. Oh, this is a absolutely mind-blowing passage of Sri Aurobindo's From Synthesis of Yoga. There must be no egoism of any kind in the attitude of the instrument, even when we are fully conscious of the greatness of the force within us. That's the key, that's the razor's edge. The moment ego comes in, oh, I did it so well, I'm so good. Or the negative ego, oh, I did it so badly, I'm no good. Both are ego. There must be no egoism of any kind in the attitude of the instrument, even when we are fully conscious of the greatness of the force within us. Every man is knowingly or unknowingly the instrument of a universal power, and apart from the inner presence, there is no such essential difference between one action and another, one kind of instrumentation and another, as would warrant the folly of an egoistic pride. So, very often, if I do something well and I compare it with others, I feel I'm better than others. Or I do something badly and I compare it with others, I feel I'm worse than others. But Sri Aurobindo is reminding us that I did it as well as the divine force in me could work through my instrumentation. That person did it as well as the divine force in that being could work through their instrumentation. So there's really no need to compare. Each working is unique. God works uniquely through each instrument and creates a unique music out of each instrument. It's our human ignorance which is constantly comparing instruments. But everything is just God playing different songs through different instruments. And if I judge this song as inferior to mine, it's my stupidity who's judging God singing through that instrument as inferior to God singing through my instrumentations. So to be humble is to really not judge somebody as better than me, not judge somebody as worse than me. Because the moment I judge, I lose receptivity. So, every man is knowingly or unknowingly the instrument of a universal power. And apart from the inner presence, there is no essential difference between one action and another, one kind of instrumentation and another, as would warrant the folly of an egoistic pride. The difference between knowledge and ignorance is a grace of the Spirit. It's worth it to learn up this line. The difference between knowledge and ignorance is a grace of the Spirit. If I'm feeling that, oh, I'm so clever and the people around me are so unconscious and ignorant, so beautiful to remember this line. The difference between knowledge and ignorance is a grace of the Spirit. I'm not conscious because of my efforts only. It's grace that made me conscious. People around me who I'm judging are not unconscious because they are what they are. It's the mother who made them what they are. Why am I judging their unconsciousness so harshly? Because when I judge, I'm the loser. You know, there's a beautiful line, no? Whenever I forgive, I set a prisoner free only to discover that that prisoner is me. Whenever I let go of a judgment, I let a prisoner free only to discover that prisoner is me. My judgment is my prison. It blocks me. When I let go of the judgment, I become free. I become open to receive. So, the difference between knowledge and ignorance is a grace of the Spirit. The breath of the divine power blows where it lists and fills today one and tomorrow another with a word or a puissance. That's the important thing. Sometimes when I do something well, I get possessive about it. I don't like it when somebody else does that well. But it's so beautiful. He's saying, the breath of the divine power blows where it lists and fills today one. Ah. Fills today one and tomorrow another. I should remember that what has filled me today is going to fill somebody else tomorrow. If everyone is the divine is going to shine through all forms. He can't keep shining through my form only. So also if I'm jealous because he's shining through that form, I should know that in my season he will shine through me because I'm also the divine. I shouldn't grudge anyone else their shine, nor should I grudge myself the lack of my shine. This is such a beautiful line. The breath of the divine power blows where it lists and fills today one and tomorrow another with the word or the puissance. If the potter shapes one pot more perfectly than another, the merit lies not in the vessel, but the maker. I am the pot, the divine grace is the potter. The merit is not in me, it's in the potter. The attitude of our mind must not be, this is my strength, or behold God's power in me, but rather, a divine power works in this mind and body. And it is the same that works in all men and in the animal, in the plant and in the metal, in conscious and living things and in things apparently inconscient. It shouldn't be inconsistent. Yeah, Isha? Inconscient and inanimate. So, any questions about anything? Then we'll summarize it so that we can bring it into our life. So sit with a tall spine, open heart. Our topic today was receptivity, one of the qualities of Mother's petals. Mother tells us that in her vision, she actually sees the divine in every particle, surrounding every particle, inside every particle, as an infinite and unconditional protection. The Upanishad gives us a beautiful mantra, Naina Kinchan Anavritam. There's not a particle not surrounded by this presence. Naina Kinchan Asamvritam. There's not a particle not permeated and full of this presence. If this all-powerful, all-nurturing, all-protecting, mothering presence envelops us and permeates us, technically, there's no room for one moment of worry or anxiety. But we live as a species burdened by worry and anxiety because we don't have mother's vision. We don't see this divine penetrating and enveloping everything. Therefore, why is this so? It's so because we are not receptive enough. We are living in an ocean of light, but our doors are closed to it. Like Kabir Ji's Doha, Pani mein meen pyasi, dekhat aaye hasi. The fish is thirsty in water. Seeing this, I feel like laughing. So, the key to this whole thing is to make ourselves receptive. The whole yoga is about being receptive to the mother's force, because we cannot do this yoga with personal effort. When we open to her, and that's all we can do, her force does the yoga in us. How do we make ourselves receptive? 3 ways we discussed today. One is by wanting to be receptive. And there's a beautiful prayer of receptivity Sri Aurobindo himself gives us. Worth learning it up and saying it several times through the day. Om Sri Aurobindo Mira, open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, to your love, to your power. In all things may I see the divine. When I'm receptive, this vision will open up in me. The other quality required for receptivity is sincerity. To be completely sincere. That is, nothing in my outer being should contradict my central inner aspiration. To be in that state is to be sincere. Whenever a contradiction comes up, so my inner aspiration is always to turn to the mother. But the desires of my outer being are constantly seeking ego affirmation. So to turn my back on those. And even if I see them, to offer them to the mother to be transformed, to be sincere. And secondly, to be humble. Mother gives us humility as a prerequisite for sincerity. However great and intelligent I am, Mother says to always know that I am nothing in front of the divine. That I did this as well as the divine allowed me to do it. I couldn't do anything without that divine light. And to remember, as Sri Aurobindo beautifully says, the difference between knowledge and ignorance is a grace of the Spirit. The breath of the divine power blows where it lists and fills today one and tomorrow another with the word or the puissance. If the potter shapes one pot more perfectly than another, the merit lies not in the vessel but the maker. The attitude of our mind must not be, "This is my strength," or "Behold God's power in me," but rather, "A divine power works in this mind and body." And it is the same that works in all men, in the animal, in the plant, in the metal, in conscious and living things, and in things apparently inconscient and inanimate. So, folding the hands together in a namaste, just that prayer to be receptive. Let's all say it together. I'll repeat each line twice. We are aspiring collectively in this very special house of the divine, so saying it with intention. Om Shri Aurobindo Mira, all of us. Om Shri Aurobindo Mira, open my mind, my heart, my life. Open my mind, my heart, my life to your light, to your love, to your power. To your light, to your love, to your power. In all things may I see the divine. In all things may I see the divine. And let's end with 3 ohms.